You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't put your finger on it? That's where this starts. A girl's trip to Miami, a husband who trusted his wife, and one tiny detail that unraveled 8 years of marriage. By the end of this, you'll understand why I don't believe in coincidences anymore. My wife Emma and I had been together since college. 8 years married, no kids yet, both working full time. We had the kind of relationship people called solid. We didn't fight much. We split chores fairly. We talked about saving for a house, maybe starting a family in a year or two. Emma worked in marketing for a mid-sized tech company downtown. I was in finance, working at a consulting firm. We had separate careers, separate friend groups, but we always came back to each other at the end of the day. That was our thing. Independence but loyalty, trust but freedom. All the healthy relationship buzzwords people throw around. And I believed in them. I really did. About 6 months ago, Emma started talking about a girls' trip. Her college roommate Sarah was turning 30, and apparently a group of them, 4 or 5 women total, wanted to do a weekend in Miami. Beaches, cocktails, spa treatments, the whole stereotypical girls' getaway package. She showed me Sarah's group chat where they were planning it. I saw the messages. I saw the excitement. It all looked completely normal and innocent. I didn't think twice about it. Emma hadn't seen Sarah in over a year, and honestly, she'd been stressed with work. A big client had been giving her team hell for months, and she'd been putting in late nights. Sometimes she'd come home at 9 or 10 p.m., exhausted, just wanting to eat something quick and crash. I told her to go on the trip, have fun, take a break. She deserved it. I meant it. I thought I was being a supportive husband. She booked the flights in early February. She sent me a screenshot of the hotel reservation, a decent-looking place near South Beach. Nothing crazy expensive, but nice enough. 3-star reviews, pool, close to the beach. She even joked about bringing me back a tacky souvenir, maybe a flamingo shot glass or one of those greetings from Miami t-shirts. We laughed about it. The trip was scheduled for 3 nights, Thursday through Sunday in late March. It felt like a normal, healthy thing. Couples should have space, right? That's what every therapist, every article, every marriage podcast says. Trust and independence. Give each other room to breathe. I believed in that philosophy completely. Thursday morning came. I woke up early to drive her to the airport. She had a 6 a.m. flight, so we were out the door by 4:30 in the morning. The streets were empty, just a few trucks and early commuters. The drive was quiet. She dozed off in the passenger seat with her neck pillow wrapped around her, headphones in, eyes closed. I remember looking over at her at a red light and thinking how lucky I was. She had this peaceful look on her face, hair tied back in a messy bun, no makeup, wearing sweatpants and one of my old hoodies. That's the version of her I loved most. The unfiltered one. The one who didn't have to perform for anyone. I dropped her off at departures. She leaned over, kissed me goodbye, grabbed her carry-on and personal item from the back seat, and said she'd text me when she landed. I told her to have fun, be safe, and not to worry about anything at home. I watched her walk through the sliding glass doors into the terminal, her rolling suitcase trailing behind her. Then I drove home in the quiet dawn, listening to a podcast, feeling content. I had the house to myself for 3 days. I figured I'd catch up on some work projects, maybe watch the playoff games without her complaining about the volume, order takeout without having to negotiate where to eat. Bachelor weekend, easy, relaxing. That evening, around 7 p.m., she texted me a selfie. It was her, Sarah, and 2 other women I vaguely recognized from her Facebook. Names I couldn't quite remember, but I'd seen their faces tagged in old photos from her birthday party last year. They were at the hotel pool, sitting on lounge chairs under a palm tree. Emma was holding a bright pink cocktail with a little umbrella in it, smiling wide, sunglasses pushed up on her head. The caption said, "Already 3 drinks and missing you, babe." I smiled when I saw it. I replied with a thumbs-up emoji and told her to have fun and stay hydrated. She hearted the message and sent back a kissy face emoji. That was it. Normal. Sweet. Exactly what I expected. Friday was more the same. A few texts throughout the day. A photo of brunch, some fancy avocado toast situation with perfectly poached eggs and a mimosa flight. Another pic at a beachside bar during sunset. The sky all orange and purple. The ocean glittering in the background. A blurry video of them dancing at some rooftop club. Music thumping in the background, lights flashing. Everything looked exactly like what she told me it would be. A fun, innocent girls' trip. I didn't have a single doubt in my mind, not one red flag. I spent Friday night eating leftover pizza on the couch, watching basketball, texting a buddy about meeting up for beers on Sunday when she got back. Life felt normal, stable, good. Saturday morning, I woke up around 9. The house was quiet. No alarms, no rush. I made coffee, sat on the couch in my boxers, scrolled through my phone for a while. Then I decided to do something productive. Laundry. I gathered up clothes from the hamper in the bedroom, started a load in the washer, and then went to the kitchen to tidy up the counter. That's when I noticed Emma's iPad sitting there, plugged into the charger by the coffee maker. She'd left it behind. She usually took it on trips to watch Netflix or read on the plane, but I guess she'd forgotten it in the rush Thursday morning when we left so early. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just cleaning up, wiping down the counter, putting away dishes. But then the iPad pinged. The screen lit up with a notification. I glanced over, not even planning to look closely, but the preview was right there on the lock screen. It was an iMessage notification. The contact name said, Jake, work. The message preview said, can't wait to see you tonight. Room 804? I stopped wiping the counter. I put the sponge down. I stared at the screen. Jake, work. Room 804, the emoji. I read it again, hoping I'd misread it. But no, that's what it said. My brain tried to process it in an innocent way. Maybe it was a work thing. Maybe Jake was a colleague who was also in Miami for some conference, and they were planning to grab dinner or something. Maybe room 804 was a meeting room at a convention center, not a hotel room. Maybe I was reading too much into it. Maybe the emoji was just casual, friendly, not flirty. Maybe I was being paranoid. But something in my gut twisted. The tone of the message. Can't wait to see you tonight. That's not professional language. That's not colleague language. That's intimate language. I stood there for a long moment, just staring at the iPad screen as it dimmed and then locked again. My heart was starting to beat faster. I picked up the iPad. It wasn't locked with a passcode. We'd never locked our devices from each other. We had each other's Face IDs registered. We knew each other's passwords. That was part of the trust we had. Open phones, open laptops, nothing to hide. I unlocked the iPad with my face. I opened the Messages app. I found the thread with Jake, work. And that's when everything started to fall apart, piece by piece, like a building collapsing in slow motion. The conversation went back 3 months. January, February, March. I scrolled to the top, to the very beginning. At first it was normal work stuff. Boring, mundane, professional exchanges. Can you review this presentation deck before the client call on Tuesday? Yeah, I'll take a look tonight and send you notes. Thanks, you're a lifesaver. No problem, happy to help. Standard coworker stuff, nothing suspicious. But then, around mid-January, the tone shifted. It was subtle at first. Thanks for grabbing coffee with me this morning before the meeting. You made my day so much better. That was from Jake. Emma replied, Anytime, I really needed that too. It's nice to just talk to someone who gets it, you know? A week later, I keep thinking about what you said yesterday during lunch. You really get me in a way most people don't. Her reply, I feel exactly the same way. It's honestly been so refreshing to connect with someone who actually listens and understands where I'm coming from. I kept scrolling, my stomach tightening with every message. Early February. I know this is probably crossing a line and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I can't stop thinking about you. Her reply came an hour later. I know, me too. I've been trying not to think about it, but it's hard. This feels crazy. Him. So what do we do? Because I don't think I can just pretend I don't feel this way. Her. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just know I don't want to stop talking to you like this. Then, 2 weeks before the Miami trip, the messages got more explicit about their plans. Him. So this Miami trip you mentioned, when is it again? Her. Last weekend of March, Thursday through Sunday. Sarah's 30th birthday thing. Him. What if I came to Miami that same weekend? Her. What do you mean? Like separately? Him. Yeah, I could book a hotel, we could see each other. No one would have to know. Her. Are you serious right now? Him. Completely. I've been thinking about this nonstop. I need to see you outside of work. Just us. Her, that's insane. But also, I want that too. God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Him, so let's do it. I'll book a room at a different hotel. We'll be careful. Separate flights, separate hotels if anyone checks. But we'll have time together. Her, okay, yes, let's do it. I sat down on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, iPad in my lap. I read the entire thread from beginning to end. It took me 20 minutes. They'd planned everything. She'd told him the name of the hotel where her friends were actually staying, the one near South Beach. He'd booked a room at a completely different hotel, the Fontainebleau, a massive luxury resort on the other side of Miami Beach. They'd coordinated flights so they wouldn't be seen together at the airport. She was going to spend time with her actual friends, take photos, keep up appearances, send me updates, and then slip away to see him. She'd even joked in one message about how easy it would be because I never questioned anything, and always trusted her completely. That line hit me like a punch to the chest. I felt like I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there on the cold tile floor, numb, scrolling back through the messages over and over, rereading certain lines, trying to make sense of it. There was nothing explicitly sexual in the text. No nudes, no graphic descriptions, but the emotional affair was crystal clear. They'd crossed every line except the physical one, and based on the timeline and the tone of the messages, that was absolutely about to happen this weekend. Maybe it already had. I wanted to call her right then and there. I wanted to text her and demand an explanation. I wanted to scream at her, ask her how she could do this to me, to us, to our marriage. But I stopped myself, because I knew exactly what would happen if I did that. She'd lie. She'd minimize it. She'd say I was overreacting, that the messages didn't mean what I thought they meant, that Jake was just a friend and I was being controlling and jealous. She'd delete the evidence. She'd gaslight me into doubting my own eyes, my own instincts. I'd seen enough posts on Reddit to know exactly how this script played out. So I made a decision. I needed proof. Not just text messages, but undeniable visual, in-person proof. I needed to see it with my own eyes so that there would be no room for lies, no room for gaslighting, no room for her to twist the narrative. I opened the Find My app on my phone. We'd set up location sharing years ago when we were long distance during our last year of college. It was originally for safety, so we'd know the other person got home okay after a night out, or arrived safely after a long drive. I hadn't thought about it in years. I didn't even remember it was still active. But it was. I opened the app and zoomed in on her location pin. She was in Miami, just like she'd said, but she wasn't at the hotel she'd told me about. She wasn't near South Beach. Her location pin was sitting dead center on the Fontainebleau Resort, a completely different property, miles away on the other side of Miami Beach. I zoomed in closer. The pin wasn't moving. She'd been there for hours. I pulled up her original hotel booking confirmation from her email. It was still logged in on her iPad. The reservation was for a place called the Tides South Beach. 3 nights, 2 queen beds, split 4 ways with her friends. I reverse image searched the pool photo she'd sent me yesterday. It matched the tides. So she'd definitely been there with her friends at some point. But right now, at 11:30 on Saturday morning, she was not at that hotel. She was at the Fontainebleau with Jake. I opened Instagram and searched for Jake's profile. I didn't know his last name, but Emma followed him, so I went through her following list and found him pretty quickly. Jake Morrison. His profile was private, but I could see his profile picture and bio. Mid-30s, decent-looking guy in a suit, generic corporate headshot. His bio said senior account manager, coffee addict, Miami-bound, and had some motivational quote about growth and taking risks. I felt sick. This guy was real. This wasn't some fantasy. He was an actual person in her life, someone she saw every day at work, someone she'd been emotionally involved with for months. I sat on that kitchen floor for over an hour, phone in hand, staring at the location dot on the map. I refreshed it every few minutes. It didn't move. She was still there. I went through every possible innocent explanation in my head. Maybe she and the girls had gone to the Fontainebleau for brunch. It's a famous resort. Tourists visit it all the time just to see the pool in the lobby. Maybe they were just checking it out. But then I remembered the message. Room 804. That's not a restaurant. That's not a lobby. That's a hotel room. His hotel room. So I did something I never imagined I'd do. I opened a new browser tab on my phone and booked a flight to Miami. Last-minute ticket. Red-eye flight leaving that same night at 11:15 p.m., landing in Miami at 2:30 p.m. the next afternoon. It cost me nearly $900 on my credit card. I didn't care. I clicked confirm. Then I packed a small backpack. One change of clothes, phone charger, wallet, toothbrush. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not a single friend, not my brother, not anyone. I just quietly went through the motions, moving on autopilot. I finished the laundry, I cleaned the kitchen. I sat on the couch and stared at the TV without really watching it. And then, at 9 p.m., I called an Uber to take me to the airport. The flight felt like it lasted forever. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I just sat in my window seat, staring out into the darkness, watching the tiny lights of cities pass below, running through every possible scenario in my head. What if I was wrong? What if I showed up and made a complete fool of myself? What if there was some perfectly innocent explanation I hadn't thought of? But what if I was right? What if I didn't go and she came home tomorrow night and kissed me and lied straight to my face, and I spent the next year or 5 years or 10 years living with someone who had betrayed me and gotten away with it? That thought was worse than any embarrassment. I had to know. I had to see it. I landed in Miami at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday. The airport was packed with families in matching vacation t-shirts, tourists in flip-flops and sunburns, kids dragging rolling suitcases shaped like cartoon characters. Everyone looked happy and relaxed. I felt like I was moving through a nightmare. I walked through the terminal like a ghost, got my backpack from the overhead bin, followed the signs to ground transportation. I ordered an Uber on my phone. When the driver pulled up, a friendly older guy with a Marlins hat, I gave him one address: the Fontainebleau Miami Beach. He said, "Nice choice, man. That place is beautiful. You here for vacation?" I just nodded and stared out the window. The ride took 35 minutes through weekend traffic. Palm trees, blue sky, convertibles. It all felt fake. We pulled up to the resort entrance. Massive, gleaming white towers. Valet stands, doormen in uniforms. I thanked the driver, got out, and walked into the lobby like I had every right to be there. Marble floors, chandeliers, fountains. People everywhere in resort wear, carrying colorful drinks, laughing. I checked her location on my phone one more time. Still there. Still inside the building. I texted her casual as I could manage. "Hey babe, how's the trip going? What are you up to right now?" I watched the 3 dots appear. Then her reply came through. "Just chilling by the pool with the girls, getting some sun. Miss you so much." I looked at the timestamp. Then I looked through the glass doors of the pool complex. It was enormous, sprawling. Hundreds of lounge chairs, families, couples, music playing. I walked closer and scanned the crowd. I didn't see her. I walked the entire perimeter of the pool area. Not there. My hands were shaking. I went back inside to the lobby. I approached the front desk. A young woman in a crisp uniform smiled at me. I forced a smile back and said my phone had died and asked if I could use the house phone to call up to a guest room. She said, "Of course. What's the name?" I hesitated for half a second, then said, "Jake. I think it's Morrison, but I'm not sure. I know he's in room 804, though." She typed something into the computer. Then she nodded and said, "Yes, we have a guest in 804. Would you like me to ring the room for you?" I said, "No, it's fine. I'll just go up and surprise him." She smiled again and went back to her work. No one stopped me. I walked to the elevator bank. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I pressed the button for the 8th floor. The elevator was mirrored on all sides. I looked at myself. I looked terrible. Unshaven. Eyes red. Wrinkled shirt. I looked like exactly what I was, a man who hadn't slept in 24 hours and was about to confront his wife. The elevator doors opened. I stepped out into a long, quiet hallway. Plush carpet, soft lighting, numbered doors on both sides. I walked slowly down the hall, counting. 800, 802, 804. I stopped in front of the door. I stood there for what felt like a full minute, just staring at the number on the brushed metal plate. I could hear my own breathing. Then I knocked. 3 firm knocks. I heard movement inside. Footsteps. A man's voice said something I couldn't make out. The door handle turned. The door opened. It was him, Jake. I recognized him from his profile picture. He was barefoot, wearing khaki shorts and a polo shirt with a resort logo on it. He was holding a bottle of beer. He looked relaxed, like he'd just woken up from a nap. When he saw me, his face changed. Confusion first, then recognition, then fear. His mouth opened. He started to say, "Who are you?" But I didn't let him finish. I said, calm as I could manage, "Where's Emma?" From somewhere inside the room, I heard her voice. Clear as day. "Jake, who is it?" And then she appeared in the doorway behind him, stepping into view. She was wearing a white hotel robe. Her hair was damp, like she'd just come out of the shower. The second she saw me standing there, her face went completely white. She froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just looked at her and said, "Girls trip, huh?" She tried to say something. Her lips moved, but nothing came out. Jake took a step back like I was going to hit him. I wasn't. I didn't care about him. He was nobody. I kept my eyes locked on Emma. I said, slowly and clearly, "I read the messages, all of them, every single one. I tracked your phone. I flew here because I needed to see this with my own eyes. And here we are." Her face crumbled. Tears started streaming down her face instantly. She said, her voice breaking, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to... I never wanted..." I held up my hand. I said, "Stop. I don't want to hear it. Not here. Not from you. Not right now." Then I turned around and walked back down the hallway toward the elevator. I didn't run. I didn't slam anything. I just left. She didn't follow me. I went back downstairs, walked out of the lobby, and stood on the sidewalk in the Miami heat. I ordered another Uber. I went straight to the airport. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything. I was completely numb. I sat in the terminal and stared at the departures board. Emma called me 6 times in the first hour. I didn't answer. She texted me 14 times. I didn't read them. I just sat there staring at nothing, waiting for the next flight home. She must have checked the flights because she ended up booking a seat on the same one. I saw her at the gate. She looked destroyed. Puffy eyes, no makeup, hair in a messy ponytail. She tried to approach me. I stood up and walked to the other side of the waiting area. When we boarded, she tried to sit next to me. I called the flight attendant over and quietly asked if she could move one of us. The attendant looked at my face, then at Emma, and said, "Of course, sir." Emma ended up 10 rows back. I didn't look at her once during the entire flight. When we landed, I walked straight to my car in the parking garage. Emma followed me, calling my name. I unlocked the car and got in. She tried to open the passenger door. I'd locked it. She stood outside the window, crying, saying, "Please, can we just talk? Please let me explain." I started the engine. I said through the closed window, "Get an Uber." Then I drove away. I watched her in the rearview mirror standing there in the parking garage, sobbing. I felt nothing. When I got home, I texted her, "Pack a bag. Stay with your sister. Don't come back here tonight." She replied immediately, "Please, we need to talk. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Please don't do this." I didn't respond. An hour later, she showed up at the house. I had the door chain on. I opened it 2 inches and said, "I told you to stay with your sister." She said, "This is my home too. You can't just kick me out." I said, "Watch me," and closed the door. She banged on it for 5 minutes, crying, begging, saying she'd made a terrible mistake, and that she loved me and that Jake didn't mean anything. I sat on the couch with my headphones on and didn't move. Eventually, she left. The next morning, Monday, I called a divorce attorney. I had a consultation that same afternoon. I brought printed screenshots of the text messages. The lawyer looked them over and said, "This is pretty clear-cut. Emotional affair, intent to meet, evidence of planning. We can file on grounds of adultery if your state allows it, or we can do no fault and just move quickly." I said, "Move quickly." I signed the papers that day. Emma was served with divorce papers at work 2 days later. I know because she called me, hysterical, saying, "You filed for divorce? We haven't even talked. You won't even let me explain." I said, "There's nothing to explain. You spent 3 months planning a secret trip with another man. You lied to me every single day. You texted me from his hotel room and said you missed me. What's left to explain?" She said, "We didn't even sleep together." I said, "I don't care," and hung up. Her family tried to intervene. Her mom called me a week later sobbing, saying Emma was devastated and that I should give her a chance to make it right. I said, "Your daughter is an adult. She made a choice. Now I'm making mine." Her mom said, "But you love her. You can work through this. Marriage is about forgiveness." I said, "Marriage is also about honesty. She lied to me for 3 months. She destroyed my trust. There's nothing left to work through." Her mom kept crying and saying I was being too harsh. I said, "I'm sorry you're hurting. I really am. But I'm done with this conversation." And I hung up. Her dad tried too. He sent me a long email about how Emma had always struggled with self-esteem and how she'd made a terrible mistake, but she loved me and wanted to fix things. I didn't reply. Jake, by the way, was also married. I'd found that out from his Instagram. There were old posts with his wife, though nothing recent. I tracked her down on Facebook. Her name was Melissa. I sent her a message with screenshots of the text between Jake and Emma. I didn't add any commentary. I just said, "I think you deserve to know about this." She replied an hour later, "Thank you. I've been suspicious for a while." This confirms it. 2 weeks later, Jake's Facebook relationship status hasn't changed to single. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel bad either. I just felt like she had a right to know the truth, the same way I did. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. We didn't have kids. We didn't own property together. We split our savings 50-50. I kept the dog, a lab mix named Cooper. Emma didn't fight me on it. I think she knew she didn't have a leg to stand on. The last time I saw her was at the final court hearing. She looked small, tired. She tried to make eye contact with me across the room. I didn't look at her. When it was over, my lawyer shook my hand and said, "You're free. Good luck." I walked out of the courthouse and sat in my car for a long time, just staring at the steering wheel. Emma tried to reach out twice after everything was final. The first time was through a mutual friend, someone we'd both known in college. The friend called me and said, "Emma really misses you. She's in therapy. She's trying to work on herself. She wanted me to tell you that." I said, "I appreciate you telling me, but I'm not interested." The friend said, "She's really sorry, you know." I said, "I know, but sorry doesn't undo what she did." The second time was a handwritten letter that showed up in my mailbox 3 months after the divorce. I recognized her handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away without opening it. But I didn't. I read it. It was 6 pages long. She said she'd been seeing a therapist. She said she realized she'd sabotaged the best thing in her life because she was scared of commitment and scared of being vulnerable. She said Jake had been an escape, a fantasy, and that the second I showed up at that hotel door, she realized what she'd done. She said she didn't expect me to forgive her, but she wanted me to know that she'd never stop regretting it. She said she loved me and probably always would. I read the whole thing. Then I put it in a drawer and never responded. Because here's the thing, people don't understand. It's not just about the cheating. It's about the lying, the planning, the double life. Emma didn't slip up one drunken night at a bar. She didn't make an impulsive mistake. She spent 3 months cultivating an emotional affair. She looked me in the eye every single morning and every single night and let me believe everything was fine. She let me drive her to the airport. She sent me photos from her girls' trip while she was planning to spend the weekend with another man. She texted me, "I miss you," from his hotel room. When people ask me if I regret flying to Miami and showing up at that door, I say no. Because if I hadn't, she would have come home Sunday night, kissed me, shown me more photos with Sarah, and I would have believed her. I would have gone on living in a lie. Maybe for months, maybe for years, maybe forever. And the worst part is I probably never would have found out. She would have gotten away with it. And every time she looked at me after that, she would have known she'd betrayed me and I didn't. That thought is unbearable. Tracking her location wasn't about being controlling. It wasn't about paranoia. It was about confirming what my gut was already screaming at me. And my gut was right. It's been almost a year now. I'm doing okay. I'm in therapy. It helps. I don't think about her as much anymore. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. Cooper's doing great. I got a promotion at work. I'm saving for a house again, but this time just for me. Life is quieter, simpler. Lonelier sometimes, yeah, but honest. And I'll take honest and lonely over comfortable and betrayed any day. So here's my question for you. If you were in my position, if your gut told you something was wrong, if you saw that message on the iPad, Would you have confronted them first and risked being lied to? Or would you have done what I did and tracked them down to get undeniable proof? Drop your verdict, Ntaytaesh or NAH, and tell me why. Because I've spent a year wondering if I handled this right, and honestly, I still don't know. But I do know this. I will never ignore my gut again, and I will never stay with someone who weaponizes my trust. Thanks for listening. Next episode drops in 2 days. Until then, trust your gut, because mine saved my life,